So when I opened up ChatGPT, I started to put the name Tong Wen Wang, nothing else, just Tong Wen Wang. And the ChatGPT says, which Tong Wen Wang? And ChatGPT brought out several options. And I picked up the first one, the researcher Tong Wen Wang. And the ChatGPT started to bring out more information. And I started to provide ChatGPT with more information. And ultimately, I started to have an argumentation with ChatGPT. And the ChatGPT says, no. She was just one of the many researchers that, reviewed that the proteasome has something to do with the turn off of the TGA-beta signaling pathway by degradation of the SMADs. And I said, no, that's not correct. Actually, Dr. Tong Wen Wang saw that the proteasome actually is a very integral signaling component of the TGA-beta SMAD-mediated signaling. Instead of SMAD to be the so-called transcriptional factor that are phosphorylated by the receptor, type 1 receptor, and then travel into the nucleus and bind to the DNA and activate transcription, the linear signal transduction pathway that currently is dominating the entire so-called TGA-beta research field and reviewed by the so-called leaders of the TGA-beta field like Joan Massagué and Richter Rink, Kyle Haldane and Kohei Miyazona, right? Japan is Kohei Miyazona. In America is Dr. Joan Massagué and Dr. Richter Rink. After Dr. Anita Roberts passed away, she was the grandmother of the TGA-beta research field. Right now, the dominating force is Dr. Joan Massagué and Dr. Richter Rink, right? And then in Canada, in Sweden, it is Dr. Kyle Haldane. And in Canada, the former postdoctoral fellows now become the Canadian lead researchers in the TGA-beta signal transduction field with Liliana Antisano and Jeffrey Rana. Yeah. So if you look at the current, leading theme and all the review articles about the TGA-beta signal transduction field, currently the mechanism is a linear one. Okay, it is just like the EGF, FGF, NGF, right? Those are the growth factor family that they called, signal transduction through binding to the surface antenna, the receptors. The receptors got activated and then start to transmit the signal in the cytoplasm, and then the signal usually goes through the signaling proteins, usually are being activated through a cascade of phosphorylation, and eventually the signal got transmitted into the nucleus through a messenger protein, usually bind to the DNA and activate or repress the transcription. So the entire current signal transduction field right now is all, each one is being studied by different, laboratories, and each growth factors, each cytokine are being studied by a collective team of international researchers, and they pretty much all come to their own individual, linear understanding of their pathways, okay? Just like the human world, right? You have the different, fields, and people basically are focused upon their fields because that's the capacity of their mind. They cannot have the more additional energy, and they're also not assigned to do other things as if. So therefore, each fields are separated, experts are clustered, and the way of understanding of the truth is one-dimensional, right? Linear, and the vast amount of crosstalks between the different pathways are not being understood. Okay, but certainly it is an extremely important part. So TGA-beta signal transduction pathway currently, is still staying at the old discoveries that was left behind by Dr. Tongwen Wang before her lab was forcibly shut down due to the CCP's persecution towards her. Her laboratory was in Seattle, Washington, and the CCP actually controlled the Washington State Governor Gary Locke, and then sent a representative to her research institute, Banora Research Institute, and pressured the director, Dr. Gerald Nippon, to force her to shut down her research program on the very, very important subject called to study the impact of fallen alpha cultivation way on human immune system. And so at that time, Dr. Wang's laboratory basically was still actively studying the TGA-beta signal transduction mechanism regarding SMAD binding, interacting with the proteasome system in the most comprehensive way, that pointing out a very clear picture to Dr. Wang that SMADs actually can regulate the proteasome system, and the proteasome system is an integral component of SMAD-mediated signaling. SMAD-mediated signaling is not about going to the nucleus, bind to the DNA, and activate certain genes, but actually it serves as the king. Okay, the TGA-beta cytokines, they are the king cytokines of the hierarchy of the different regulators of cell lives. Okay, and so just like a government, you have the ancient system, you have the king on top, and then you have the officials, right? Yeah, and then you have the messengers. Okay, you have the officials' assistants, and then you have the messengers. So king, in the Shen-Nong Ben Cao, the Shen-Nong categorize the medicinal herbs into 4 different categories: Jun, Chen, Zuo, Shi. Jun means the king, Chen means the officials, Zuo means the assistants, Shi means the messengers, right? So as a matter of fact, yeah, the human body, the many different cytokines and growth factors, right? They actually, on the surface, all do something to regulate the cell function, but they actually are a hierarchy system, and they have different functions, and therefore their signaling mechanisms are also very different. The way the king works certainly is different from the way the officials work, and the way officials work is different from the way of the assistants work, and the way of assistants work is different from the messengers work. Jun, Chen, Zuo, Shi is a hierarchy system, and so therefore their operational mode also is different. And what basically Dr. Tongwen Wang started to recognize is that the TGA-beta superfamily, TGA-beta superfamily, right? TGA-beta superfamily contains the prototype of this whole family, the king of the kings, the TGF-beta, transforming growth factor beta. Transforming growth factor beta, its identity, interestingly, is just like as confusing as, Dr. Tong Wen-Wang herself always have two sides of the story, right? Yeah. So I think that's the reason Dr. Tong Wen could understand the identity of TGF-beta and its operational mechanism, because the complexity of the TGF-beta signaling corresponds to the complexity of Dr. Tong Wen-Wang's life script. So only people like Dr. Tong Wen-Wang, whose life script actually is as complicated as the TGF-beta. Therefore, she actually understands. That's why Dr. Tong Wen-Wang also enlightened to this very profound truth. Of course, all of this comes after she started to practice Falun Dafa. Because now looking back, I understand that, the ability to grasp the truth, with vast amount of data, and you need to have a volume, you need to have the energy, right? You need to have the larger volume to take on the information, and you also need to have the energy to be able to synthesize and integrate. And just like this, the other image came into my mind is like the weaver, right? Okay, the low profile weavers, they can only handle one thread, right? And a little higher, they can handle multiple threads, right? And the very, very high profile of the weaver, oh my God, they actually can integrate so many different colors, so many different strings, and they have a blueprint in their mind, and then they turn all those countless amount of colors and strings into a incredibly magnificent tapestry, right? Yeah, tapestry, weaver. So very obviously, Dr. Tong Wen-Wang has that correspondence to a weaver, a magnificent weaver. Now it's funny because when she was a little girl in Wenling, back to the childhood time, when she was shadowing her grandmother in Wenling village, and the grandmother always liked to, bring this mythical story to her practice the life. Every year, lunar July 7th is the Valentine's Day for the Chinese people, the traditional Valentine's Day. Now that Valentine's Day is about the love between the heavenly maiden, and that heavenly maiden, her name is Zhinyu, the weaver, okay? The seventh daughter in the seventh daughter of the heavenly king, and her name is Zhinyu because she's a weaver, and she can weave the most incredibly beautiful tapestry. One day, she was the seventh daughter, so she was the youngest. One day she decided to join her sisters to take a secret visit in the human world because they were attracted by a beautiful lake. Okay, Wuxi has a Thai lake, right? Beautiful like a pearl, right? The lake attracted the seven daughters of the heavenly king to come to the human world, and while bathing, the cowboy was instructed by his magical cow to find his wife among the seven sisters, and he actually hid the flying dress of the weaver, the seventh daughter. And following that, the seventh daughter fell in love with the cowboy, and she made a living by making beautiful fabric in the human world. And also, after marriage, she became a mother of the two beautiful children, a son and a daughter. However, because she belongs to the heaven, cowboy belongs to the earth. The moment came, she must return to heaven. That's her destiny. And the cowboy also want to follow her to heaven, but it was blocked by the Milky Way because the Heavenly Mother says human must be on the earth. And he is not divine. So therefore, the cowboy was left on earth, and the mother of the two beautiful children actually was kept in heaven. And the link between the two worlds was mediated by every year the sparrows form a sparrow bridge, cross the Milky Way, so that the earthly cowboy and the half human, half God children left also on the earth could travel through the bridge to be reunited with the Heavenly Mother, the Weaver. So on July 7th, lunar time, Dr. Tong Wen Wang's grandmother, He Gen-di, always like to tell that story to her and take out some very, very clear, cold water from the well and crunch some green leaves from the Sharon rose trees and wash her hair, claiming that this is the secret remedy that will make her hair as long and black and beautiful and shiny like the Weaver princess in heaven. Okay, so that was the story that was always told to little Tong Wen by the grandma Gen-di. Yeah, that is symbolic, right? So Weaver, yeah, the tapestry of life and the tapestry of signal transduction pathways of the TGA beta superfamily. The TGA beta superfamily, the key members are TGA beta and BMP and activin and inhibin, right? Those are the key factors. And also, do not forget the Mullering inhibiting substance, MIS, which was the factor that Dr. Patricia K. Donahoe's laboratory was studying. So we are talking about approximately 7 main identities of the TGA beta superfamily 2. Yeah, 17. And their signaling mechanisms are very, very unique, very, very different from the other growth factors that so far have been reported. But right now, the whole linear understanding of the TGA beta superfamily signal transduction pathways actually, I think it's due to the low level of, awareness, low capacity of integration of the researchers in the field, okay? And Dr. Wang actually was always a little different, not a little, but actually completely different from the other researchers in the following way. While the other researchers, basically they want to gain something doing research. What kind of gaining? For example, status, right? Recognition and profit. Dr. Wang entered into the whole field only with one word: compassion. Yeah. So she was actually very different from her colleagues. And she entered into this whole field because she remembered the initiation of her interest in pursuing a path of so cutthroat, competitive, and very, in a way, very different, very opposite to her true nature. Because her true nature was always very poetic. She was a born poet, and her true interest was never abstractive things, but always human love. Okay, human love was her central, nutrients in the human world. And she was born on the Western Valentine's Day, which is February 14th, right? So the Western aspect was in her, and the Eastern aspect also in her, and the East and West conjoined together, and with one character stands out bright, and it's called love. And after she became a Falun Dafa practitioner, the love become elevated, expanded, purified, and become more powerful. It's called compassion, right? And so when she started to be able to elevate and purified and energized, and her volume increased, right? Her power increased, and her ability to hold the truth, and her ability to discern right and wrong, right? And she was able to see much, much bigger picture than the regular researchers. And that explains why everything started to change after she started to connect with Falun Dafa in the fall of 1995. The moment when she heard the name Falun Gong at Harvard, basically that year when Noah was a baby, newborn, and she need to do breastfeeding, and her husband, Mr. Alan Genitosio, told her, I saw a note at Harvard Yard that tonight there will be the lectures to introduce Falun Gong, and it's a Qigong, and I want to go check it out. Dr. Tang Wenwang says, I go with you. Let's go together. Miss Allen says, no, you stay home. You need to take care of baby Noah. I go first. Let me go check out, and now I'll tell you how it goes, right? Yeah, that was the turning point.